Fox's chief propagandist, Tucker Carlson, saying that the U.S. should be siding with Russia over Ukraine. What, you may say?
Members of Congress are actually getting phone calls encouraging them to side with Russia because they're watching right-wing media and people like Tucker Carlson.
It is striking how neatly Kremlin propaganda seems to dovetail with Carlson's talking points.
When Tucker Carlson delivers this message, it's dangerous.
Now, Tucker seems to have some sort of larger pattern here with tyrants who lean to the right.
But why is he so committed, and why is Fox News, on his behalf, so committed to tearing down American embrace and support and alignment with the world's democracies?
Tucker is utterly shameless. If he had any capacity to feel any shame, he should be embarrassed by what he just said, because he is basically repeating rank Russian propaganda.
We have breaking news for you in our world lead. A senior Ukrainian official tells CNN that today's phone call between President Biden and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, quote, did not go well. Our source tells CNN that the two disagreed about the immediacy of the threat of a Russian attack on Ukraine. The White House and Pentagon have been emphatic that they believe an attack could be imminent. We should note the White House just released its own readout of that call, and there was no mention of President Biden's warnings or the two presidents' disagreements.
It's an amazing sequence, really, if you think about it. So Biden tells the Ukrainian president that his capital city is about to be sacked, like Rome in the 5th century. Blood and screams, fire, spears and swords, sieges and trebuchets. A horrible scene. And Ukrainians' lead response to this? Calm down, dude. You're freaking me out. Toughen up. You sound like a terrified old woman. Now, the White House claims that conversation never happened, but clearly it did happen, because at a press conference today, President Zelensky said virtually the same thing to the media.
We've talked to the president. We've talked about this. We think that there has to be a balanced approach. I'm not saying that he's influencing American media. They're independent, but the media policy there has to be well balanced. If they want to know what the situation is, that they can come to Kyiv. Do we have tanks on the street? No. The image that mass media creates is that we have troops on the roads, we have mobilization, people are leaving for places. That's not the case. We don't need this panic.
Congressman Tom Malinowski of New Jersey is claiming that viewers of this show, Russian Robots to a Man, reached out to his office and did something horrifying, something that probably should be illegal. They said maybe we shouldn't go to war over Ukraine.
Can you just tell us about these phone calls that your office is getting?
Yeah, sure. It really started yesterday. I was in my district office in New Jersey, and phones were ringing, and my district director came to me and said, I just spent an hour on the phone with like 4 people telling me that they'd watched Tucker Carlson last night, and why are we going to be going to war for Ukraine? Russia's making reasonable proposals for peace, and we should just do what Russia wants.
So David Frum and Joe Biden have gotten Americans so whipped into a frenzy over the future of Ukraine that they're flying to Ukraine to risk their lives in defense of that sacred nation's sovereignty. And there's the president of Ukraine saying, we're not that concerned. So what can we infer from this? Well, it's simple. If you're not terrified about the prospect of a Russian invasion of Ukraine, the question is, whose side are you on here? Whose side are you on? And we know the answer to that question. You're on Vladimir Putin's side. So it looks like the president of Ukraine himself has been compromised by Russian misinformation. The Ukrainian president is what we on cable news refer to as an agent of Putin. And that means the Russians are so diabolically effective, they've recruited the guy they're preparing war against. How clever is that? It would take a Slavic mind to pull that off. And by the way, yes, we are calling the president of Ukraine an agent of Putin, but we're not judging him. In fact, we can relate, we can empathize, because as you know, if you watch the media, we're agents of Putin too.